You are listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Thank you for downloading and subscribing. Coming to you virtually live from high atop the historic Raleigh building in beautiful downtown Raleigh. The NCF&B takes the listener behind the scenes to tell the stories of the people that contribute to the creation of the food and beverage community of North Carolina.
And now, fixing their makeup in the bathroom,
It's Max Trujillo
and Amber Freeman.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your host, Max Trujillo, and with me, in his replacement, Matthew Weiss is in Italy for a little bit of time, and we'd stacked up a couple of episodes, but in his replacement is one Amber Freeman. You will know her from CBS's My Carolina. She's dancing over here.
I didn't know we were going to have a concert session. You guys have good music.
Yeah.
Also, Matt and I have similar hair, so I feel like...
Oh, yeah. It's almost the same.
So close.
It's yours truly on the guitar, by the way.
Stop it.
Yeah. And I wrote the theme song, and Mike Rosato's on drums, and all the locals here. Yeah, it's a good time.
Do you need hot cross buns on the recorder?
I always need hot cross buns. But if I'm going to have somebody bake those hot cross buns, we're probably going to have to ask a chef.
Absolutely.
And with us in studio, all the way from Greensboro, from Machete, which I just love that name, is the executive chef and partner, Kevin Cottrell. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm so excited to have you in. We rarely go... What are we out? The Triad is that what we call it?
We call it the Triad.
Yeah, I think we all call it the Triad. Yeah, we're the triangle.
Some people say Piedmont Triad.
Okay, yeah, but
Learning. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, there's like the three big. What are the three big towns there that make up the Triad?
It's like High Point, Winston, and Greensboro.
Yeah,
Winston-Salem.
It's too much math. I'm thinking like triangle, then the Triad. But we're glad you're here. The name alone just elicits so many questions.
Yes, Machete. Yeah, but it makes me think of. I'm sure you get compared to Danny Trejo all the time, right? Yeah, but then he opened up his own like taco stand, so that you're like, all right, Trejo, back it up. We're Machete. So
I think he's like a full blown restaurateur now too.
Oh. Yeah,
I think he has multiple different concepts going on.
Oh yeah. He has some success with Trejo's Tacos. They're all over California, but then I think he's like gone into like more fine dining, good food. So, but with that said, I'm sure you make a taco from time to time, but that's not how we'll know you. Talk to us a little bit about Machete. Like, when did it open and what's going on over there?
So Machete opened in 2020. We opened in February, about 2 weeks before COVID was really heating up. And then they did the restaurant shutdown, basically. So we got a good 2 weeks of service in, and then it was straight to, oh no, what are we going to do? Because the type of food we do doesn't really travel well. A lot of places pivoted to just doing to-go. But anyways, we figured it out kind of overnight. We were like, hey, we're going to just do this to-go food for a while until whatever's going on kind of settles down.
Yeah.
But anyways, we opened in 2020, February. We had been a supper club for 2 years before that. So my business partner, Tal, he had moved back from San Francisco. He was one of the core investors for Lazy Bear out there. Comes from the video game world. And he moved back, loved what I was trying to do in Greensboro. We kind of hit it off, became really good friends, and we just got to talking. We were like, let's just do something for fun, like a little supper club kind of thing out of his home. And it went crazy. I think once a month we do 2 seatings, about 40 people each seating, and we would do different themes, all tasting menus. So we would kind of sell tickets for it. It would be a fixed menu and everything. I think for Halloween we did like a Halloween theme based on like all of our favorite horror movies.
Oh, cool.
So each dish was based on a different horror movie. But we really just hit it off. And right around late 2019, a local restaurateur wanted to get out of this place she was in and She was like, would you guys be interested in taking this building over?
Yeah.
It was already built out and everything. So we went for it.
That's so cool, man. I'm a huge fan of the pop-up series. I think pop-up restaurants are amazing, and they're fun because I love the uniqueness of, this only happens tonight, and it's like, this is the only thing we're going to do. And the exclusivity, I guess, of it is what's really fun. And then there are no rules. You can kind of do whatever you like. I assume you probably are familiar, but are you aware of like Snap Pea Underground out in this area?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Well, then the three of us, we're going to all go to a Snap Pea Underground.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that either. Are you sure you're not just making this up and leading us into some underground lair?
Yes, it's mainly just like dog fighting.
And horror theme every night. You're like, this is not a special day. It's just a Tuesday.
No, but in that same vein, friend of the show, he hasn't been on in forever just because we've been so crazy busy, but Jacob Bohm is a phenomenal chef, kind of more based in the Chapel Hill area, Durham area. And he has Snap Pea Underground. It's a Snap Pea catering company. They do like weddings, parties, and big events as well. But the thing that kind of is their unique vibe is they have this great mailing list, and they pop up in weird places that you would not expect a pop-up to exist. Like,
that's awesome.
They've done it at a fabric store. They've done it at a gym. They've done it on a bridge. They've done one in a creek. Where the directions were don't wear shoes or wear waterproof shoes. And like, I didn't get to go to that one, but Felicia went, and she's like, yeah, we're literally sitting in water, like just our feet.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So many creative minds all in one place.
Yeah. And it's like 10 courses. It's not intentionally vegetarian, but for the most part, it's almost always a vegetarian experience. Sometimes I've gone where he's thrown in something else. But that made me think, I was like, oh, these pop-up series are so cool. And it feels like that's kind of like the impetus or how you got started.
Yeah.
Which is great. And also, like, from what I was reading online, you're like, well, Greensboro doesn't have anything cool like this. Like, you could expect this from a bigger town like Charlotte or Raleigh or Durham, but we wanted to bring something like this to our community, and it looks like you brought it.
I think so. And yeah, I mean, the pop-ups are a great way to like test out an idea like that without just taking out this big loan or, just this full commitment, right? So it was a good way for us to really see if the community would support something like that. And after like 2 dinners, I mean, we were like, yeah, there's definitely a demand for this here.
Yeah. No doubt. And so what makes you such a fancy chef? Like, why are we supposed to go eat at your restaurant? I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but where'd you come from? What was your kind of upbringing in the culinary world?
So I grew up in Greensboro, and I always wanted to bring something higher in there. I always just kind of craved doing food like that. I did commute out to Chapel Hill for a little bit, worked at a place called One back in the day.
I was going to ask you about that.
That was probably my biggest inspiration. Other than that, I really just tried to seek out the best chefs and mentors I could find and work for them and learn from them until I got to a point where I was really just starting to create more than I was follow people.
Well, so how tough is Kim Floresca in the kitchen?
Oh, man, I got to hear it every day. I mean, I walked in there and I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never seen that level of just how they run a kitchen. I mean, I was getting yelled at for like ripping my tape instead of
don't
cutting
rip tape.
it.
Cut tape.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was young. I had no idea, what direction I wanted to go. I just knew that I loved cooking.
Yeah. Was Daniel nicer or was...
Yes.
Daniel was like the good cop, and Kim was the evil cop?
Yeah, but I learned a lot more from Kim because it was just her, Daniel was more hands off. I think they both had their departments that they focused on.
Yeah.
And I think she was definitely the trainer getting people up to speed to meet their vision. So I definitely interacted with her more.
Yeah.
And
well, Amber, just because I know that you're somewhat of recent transplant.
Right.
Where were you before? Right.
Well, I was in Kentucky for a while, and then I went back home to Florida for a little while. But I always think that stories like that are so interesting because in any career path, and I think I know nothing about the restaurant industry other than the really great people that I get to talk to all the time. But when you have an experience like that, it's either going to be, I'm done, this sucks, and I'm out. Or does it make you drive harder, dig your heels in, and be like, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to do this?
I think it definitely drove me in the right direction because I was a complete failure there. I mean, and it definitely made me question, am I good enough to do this?
Yeah.
Or like what am I doing? But I think it was humbling in a way to where it really made me get my shit together.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, one, which was in Chapel Hill, was a very exclusive, high-end fine dining restaurant that Greg Cox, our local writer out here, had named Restaurant of the Year. I want to say I had just moved here in 2013, so I think it was Restaurant of the Year for either 2013 or 2014. But it was a big deal. And they also had a beer place as well. Can't remember the name now. His name is escaping me.
Too much beer.
Yeah, but it was like a fine dining brewery as well. It was very like high level.
It was called G2B. Duh.
Kim Floresca and Daniel Ryan are a pair. They're a couple, but they came as like a 1-2 punch. I don't even really know if you'd consider one more the chef to the sous chef. I mean, they kind of were just co-running it.
Yeah, co-chef.
Co-chefs, yeah. But their pedigree is, I mean, it's an unparalleled pedigree. They're talked about working for Thomas Keller at Per Se, French Laundry, 11 Madison Park, I want to say, is on there. And then they also worked at El Bulli, which is in Spain. It doesn't exist any longer, but many considered it to be the greatest restaurant of all time. I think Alinea is on their resume. But I know Kim a little bit more about what she's doing now. I bumped into her. Well, it was planned. We met in Santa Monica, but she is now, and maybe Amber, because you're a lady.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back to
Picking petals and making hair bands.
Yeah, if you could just take 5 seconds away from the daisy that you're playing
Let
with.
me think.
Kim is now the executive chef for Goop Kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Which is, Gwyneth Paltrow's
So wait,
company.
does she actually make food, or she does do like the candle side?
She's not
Is she
making
responsible for that?
the vagina-scented candle.
I was going to say, that fine pedigree really paid off. way to take it there.
No, Kim is running the kitchens for Goop Kitchen, which when I met her, it was, I think it's still maybe the same way, but in a like in a ghost kitchen where they just have this phenomenal kitchen that's not public facing, but they serve all the things that you would want to eat if you were living like that very healthy lifestyle. It's like
if he said if you were living that very
yeah. It's not the lifestyle I live. But a lot of like grains and like still like good proteins, but more like a Mediterranean healthy diet. But it's all takeout and it's all really fresh. It's a lot of the stuff that Gwyneth Paltrow would kind of promote within her own Goop line, which is really cool. And I'm from California and spent most of my adult life in Los Angeles. So when I went back to see some family, we made it a point to see Kim, and she just bombarded me with food, which was really cool. I mean, she gave me 3 massive bags full of food, and I brought back.
It's not a bad friend to have.
No, and she's top notch and just a good person. But anyhow, so just going down that little memory lane kind of gets us up to this point, because that's not like a place you just kind of walk into without any skill, and you're going to learn something. So that already tells me a little bit about your pedigree, if you will. But so you went from there. You also worked for some restaurants for a time in Greensboro where you became the executive chef.
Yes.
What was that?
So that was LaRue.
LaRue, that's right.
So when I left one, I went. Not only was I just probably not ready for that, but the commute was just not working.
You were driving from Greensboro to Chapel Hill
every morning. Yeah.
How far is that?
It's about hour. I think it's an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's a lot. Especially in such a high stress, fast paced job. Yeah, that's for your brain. Smart.
And then probably getting home at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was younger at the time. My car wasn't the greatest. The commute was just not working out. Anyways, I found this place that had just opened called LaRue in Greensboro. I told him I wanted to work there. I was like, I'll work for free for a little bit if that gets me a foot in the door. Just because they were doing probably the most elevated food in Greensboro at the time. I was like, I'll do desserts. I'll do whatever, whatever. I kind of saw a need for their like pastry dessert program. So snuck my way into that. Even though I didn't know anything about pastry or desserts.
Hey.
Yeah.
But did they pay you? Or did they take you up on your offer
after
to do
about
it for
a month.
free? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that shows how hungry you were, though, because most people wouldn't do that.
Yeah. So I worked a paid job while I was doing the free work just to pay bills and everything. So basically 2-job situation.
I'm shocked they didn't pay you anything.
I know.
Especially if you're
And
creating a program.
looking
They don't
back
do
on
that
it, they
like
were
in
like,
the television industry.
Oh, they're not good. If somebody's going to work for free, you're going to work all day, and you're not
Yeah.
going to get paid for a year. So, oh yeah, no, I didn't realize it was the same.
Yeah, it's like we call it staging, which is like the French word like stage. It's like you stage, which is just a fancy way of saying you ain't getting paid, but
Yeah.
you're going to learn. And some of the high level chefs have kind of made it their career by having stages come in. I mean, speak to Noma. What is it? The law in Sweden, right? Denmark. I'm sorry. Said that staging is illegal and you cannot do it any longer. And so then Noma swiftly just closed. Right after that.
Wow, stop.
Like one of the nicest restaurants in the world, and they're like, yeah, well, if that's the case, we can't exist. To which I'm like, really? Because it's like $800 a person at your restaurant, so I don't know how you can't
The
exist.
underbelly. I'm learning. Wow.
Yeah.
In the modeling world, it's TFP, which is time for prints, which sounds really shady, and it happens all the time. So I'm guessing this is probably better.
What does that mean? So
You take pictures like with photogs just to get pictures.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they don't always end up the best.
Yeah.
So it's
this is good for your reel. This is good for your reel.
yeah, it gets a little shady. This I feel like it's a little bit more wholesome. Not to say it doesn't work for some people. That's how you get into it. So I understand.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you just have to do whatever you can to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, and I mean it's an investment of your time.
That's a good way to word it.
It will come back to you in the future, especially a place like Noma. I'd work for free forever there.
Sure.
I mean, there's people that have offered to pay to work there.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, they had a long line of people that wanted to work there. That wasn't the issue.
But if you have Noma on your resume, I mean,
Gotcha. That'll get you.
It's going to get you anywhere you want to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm learning.
All right, let's take a quick break to talk about our fantastic new sponsor from North Carolina. We're talking about Got to Be NC.
Yeah, got to be NC. If it's grown, raised, caught, or made in North Carolina, it's got to be NC. Look for the GTB NC signs to shop for what's truly local.
For those that listen to this show that are on the inside, you might be a chef, a restaurant owner, you make a consumer packaged good, a farmer. Well, become a member of Got to Be NC, because becoming a member not only helps with public events such as trade shows, farmers markets, but we also do these educational trips like the chef field trip to Tidewater Grain, for instance, or going to the NCRLA Chef Showdown or the NRA Food Show in Chicago. Got to Be NC supports local producers and purveyors and really helps bring them all together to support local.
Go to their website, got to be NC, GOTTOBENC.com.
If it's got to be, it's got to be NC. So with your type of food, I mean, so the audience can understand, I know we just threw out a bunch of really big names and not to like oversell you, but I mean, you are cooking in this like sphere. You're doing fine dining and you're really breaking some ground. And it's not just me that thinks that. You were nominated for a James Beard Award back in 2022. You were a semifinalist. And then Yelp, they put you number 18 on the top 100 places to eat in America. And you were the only North Carolina restaurant in the top 75. So that's pretty cool. Not that I was just reading that, but like, but you've received some pretty high accolades. So what does what does the menu look like? What's someone going to perceive when they walk in? What are you doing?
So I mean, first off, we're doing fine dining, but we try to make it as, we really want to not be pretentious in how we put it out there. You're not going to see like white tablecloths. You're going to see a bunch of people having fun while they're working their ass off. But even the menu, I mean, if you look through it, you'll see a lot of it is us like inspired by junk food, inspired by like these childhood memories. I mean, the last caviar dish was caviar and Funyun.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
So we like to do, the fine dining, but with kind of this spin on it that makes it not only fun, but not pretentious at all.
I may have stalked your menu before coming in here because I'm kind of fascinated by menus to begin with. And I found that you had like Wonder Bread in some of the starters and the plates, and I would find things and some of the words I may not know, but then you definitely balanced out. It's like, okay, I know that. I know what white bread is. And it did. Everything looked amazing. And I can see where that balance is.
Yeah, we do a little Wonder Bread sandwich right now.
See?
Caviar, Wonder Bread, country ham.
Just like kindergarten.
That's awesome. Walk us through a little bit of the mindset when you're building out a menu so that you still can be approachable to your community.
Yeah. So we definitely have balance on the menu. We keep some things relatable enough to where they'll sell themselves and they're not going to freak people out. But we also, speaking on balance, we like to have some of the things that more and more people are now coming to Machete for, which is like the caviar and Funyun and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think it's really just, we got to remember that we are in Greensboro. So we do have a market to appeal to. But certain things we can get away with, a little bit of weird stuff, right? Like stuff that would normally kind of scare people or, shoo them away. So, when we're thinking about menus, we like to have things that are, I guess, at a good price point. Mm-hmm. And then we'll make up for it, in other places where we will have our caviar, like our Australian, Wagyu, some of the higher end items, and there's a demand for all of that. So we don't really have an issue, selling the crazier stuff. I just think it's important to have that balance.
Well, how big is the restaurant in general? Like, how many seats do you?
60, 70 seats.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not small. I would say, most of these like fine dining, really nice places are like 40, 50 seats or so. So 60, 70, like you're able to kind of pump out a decent amount of food, I would imagine. How big is your brigade? How big is the kitchen?
So right now we've got about 8 people on staff. Okay. We've got basically a morning prep team, usually 1 or 2 people. They get all of those bigger projects that take either all day or 2 days or 3 days. Yeah. They kind of take care of that. And then the chefs that work the line, they come in around 2 or 3 and really just set up their stations and get ready for service that night.
Yeah.
So kind of a small staff, I guess. But we push it out.
What's the environment like in the kitchen? Is it quiet?
His tone changed. He's like, okay, now let's talk about the kitchen. That's where the drama.
I love it. I love knowing the inside of this kitchen.
We are a very open kitchen, so it's quiet when it needs to be.
Yeah. But you're not like bumping Taylor Swift on the line or anything.
No. Before service, yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
He's like,
Before service, yes.
Yeah.
But I would say right at 5 o'clock when we open, it's a complete 180. Everybody's buttoned
it's like
up.
showtime.
Yeah, it's showtime, and we like to think of it as theater sometimes, because we are like the stage. Like if you walk in the restaurant, it looks like we're the stage.
And see, I love the way your mind works because I'm going back to your first supper club where it was a theatrical performance. I'm going to go way back. I found something that you talked to, an article where you talked about some of your earlier days. You're fascinated by grocery stores. I'm the same way. I say that all the time, and people think I'm so weird. Wherever you travel, you can learn about the people from the grocery store because they're all different. Does that come into play when you're creating your menu? Because I think the creative process through all that, as somebody who's not in the kitchen every single day in any means and doesn't understand the restaurant business as you do, that creative process and where you come up with what makes this different, what do the people here like? Can you go into a grocery store and just see inspiration?
I mean, I would say our creative process is more, and especially this past year, we have leaned more and more towards. I actually have less of the menu now, and pretty much every one of our chefs that work service have at least 2 dishes on the menu. So we have all these different backgrounds now, and all this different inspiration coming into our menu. It's I want people to be proud to work there. I want them to really know that what they're serving is like they really care about what they do, right? This is definitely a passion thing. It's not just a job for any of them. So this past year, everybody's been just gunning to have dishes on the menu. And it's helped me out a little bit too. So I can kind of work on big picture stuff, focus on both restaurants and not just Machete. But yeah, so I would say before that, I mean, I'm kind of selfish in the creative process where it's like, I'm not thinking about what people are going to want. I'm thinking about something that I want to do, whether it's a technique that I haven't used before or an ingredient I haven't worked with before. I'm going to bring it in and we're going to do something with it because I'm just kind of feeding my curiosity, and I want to show people that this is out there, and these are hard to get products, hard to get ingredients, and I really want to put those on display for people.
Well, Amber, you are talking to for 5 years, the assistant produce manager at Lowe's. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you spent some time. By the way, Lowe's grocery store and Lowe's the tool store. Whatever.
I was confused when I got here.
Lowe's Foods.
Lowe's Foods.
It's like a southern grocery
It's a
chain.
totally different company, right? They're not connected at all.
Not at all.
Green, right? Is the green the color? See,
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
It almost looks like the hat you're wearing is like you're still repping
Yep.
Lowe's over here. But yeah, I shop at Lowe's all the time. It's funny. Felicia, she's like an avid Trader Joe's person, but then when it's my turn to do the grocery shopping, I'm always at Lowe's. It's by spot. But you worked there. I mean, I'm looking at how old you are and how many years you spent at various places. You must have been a teenager when you were at Lowe's.
Oh yeah. My parents were very set on me getting a job as soon as I was legally able to work.
Here, go there.
And now I thank them for that. I mean, I didn't want to at the time, but
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I worked almost every night after school, and I would produce. You get to work with produce a little bit, or you get to work with at least cutting stuff, not really cooking. But I mean, at one point I had a Japanese chef's knife that I was bringing in to cut romaine lettuce and stuff.
Sure.
And I wanted to explore food.
That had to have affected you in some way to understand food. I mean, you're looking at produce every day. You're understanding what the life cycle of produce and the seasonality of it, and probably understanding those things. Maybe if you didn't realize it at the time, it was probably just happening through osmosis, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes you kind of understand the kitchen from almost from the opposite end of the spectrum. But I think that had to have made you probably even just a more aware chef as you are at this point.
I think so. In that, Lowe's Foods grocery stores are more, they bring in more unfamiliar, I guess, produce and stuff like that than your standard Harris Teeter or whatever. But I just knew that I wanted to be around food.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about kitchens or working in restaurants, but I wanted to do something that had to do with food. And then finally I was sick of it. I was like, I want to go work in a restaurant and see what that's like.
So you've pretty much been involved in food since you were old enough to work.
Mm-hmm. I think 14, 15 is when I got my first job.
Wow. Had you ever done anything that was not kitchen related, food related?
No.
Said that so surely.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that because it's like you said, almost through osmosis, you probably, when you're young, you just want money and you want out by the time your shift's over so you can go spend that money. But you not only were around the food, you were around people asking silly questions, stupid questions. You were seeing what people went to, what they were drawn to. That had to all come into play.
I think so. I mean, I really enjoyed so there was like a morning shift there, and I was the only person working in that department. And so I had to, make sure I was cutting all the vegetables, and I actually got to do quite a bit of fabrication of vegetables, and then putting them on display, interacting with people coming into the store. So I guess, you do have a little bit of social interaction and figuring out what people want. But I always kind of like customer service, and I don't think the produce department is the place where people are treating service workers badly.
I heard it's the dating aisle. I heard there's a
probably.
way to. So I'm just
You would
telling
know.
you. I would not know. I'm failing at it, but I can tell you what I have heard. But I really do. I could talk grocery stores all day because I think they're fascinating, and that's weird. I know, but I can so see how because it's where everybody has to go. It's kind of the common denominator. Everybody has to eat, so you go to the grocery store, and it seems like me such a natural progression to go on and to be able to start there and then go to fine dining. Maybe other people aren't seeing this line, but I am, and I can add the dating aisle in there as well.
That seems like such the creepy guy thing to do. Be like, I'm just gonna bring my little adorable puppy and sit out front of a Trader Joe's or whatever, and just wait for cute girls to walk in.
Apparently, it's like a culture. Somebody at my work. I'm not going to call her out. She is well married, but she's like, Amber, you go to the grocery store, you get a cart, you get a single apple and a single orange. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This works.
Is that code?
Like pineapples, that's a code, but I don't know about the single apple. I don't know if it's working for people.
Explain the pineapple.
That's another show.
I think it's an upside down pineapple, right?
You would know. As you told. But
wait a minute, we should ask the assistant produce manager
should.
about
You
the
would definitely
upside down.
I'm lost on this.
Oh, right. He genuinely does look lost for those only listening.
Either that or it's the theatrical side of you coming by.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, go Google search what an
need to
upside
go
down
there.
pineapple means, folks, if you don't already know.
Or if you met your significant other in the grocery store, let us know.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be another
Call
podcast.
In right now. You did mention as we were discussing how you were setting up both restaurants, and we haven't even gotten to Yokai. Am I saying this correct? Yokai was a new concept that you and Tal opened up it was just last year, right? September, yeah. Right as I was getting out of the business completely, you were deciding to double down and jump into it even more. But this is a Japanese kind of like a izakaya type of restaurant?
So inspired by izakaya.
Yeah.
We take a lot of our experience with food, and Tal, goes to Japan all the time. So he's always definitely been obsessed with this idea. But this is actually something we've been talking about doing even before Machete. It's definitely a lot more casual than Machete is. We kind of want it to be that come grab a beer, grab a plate of food, go to the show or whatever's going on. But pretty much fast casual is kind of what we're going for with Yokai.
It looks awesome. I love there's a charm both to Machete and Yokai. You guys seem to not take yourselves too serious, which I really appreciate, especially in that fine dining world where it could seem intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like you're doing that. It looks like you're kind of just making it a place that everyday person would want to go in and eat.
Yeah.
So much so that you're like, I found it to be hilarious. You had a glossary of Japanese words that people should learn. Let me see if I can get Siri to speak this one. Siri, are you awake?
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. Whoa. What just happened?
Hold on, wait. Can we get it one more time? Good. Let me see. Hold on. Guchusausa madeshira. Which do you know what that means?
I do not.
Is it right? Do we even know if Siri's saying it correctly?
She's saying upside down pineapple.
Stop it. That's That's your next menu item.
I should have known that.
No, apparently it means "Kucha sama deshira." It means "thank you for your meal." This is where I almost need to put in my 1999 national Japanese commercial for Brookbond tea, where I was the main actor. Yes.
Was that a TFP shoot? Time for print?
Oh, no, I actually got paid pretty well as a 21-year-old. I literally just met my wife, then girlfriend.
In the grocery store.
She was holding a pineapple.
A pineapple.
No. I feel like she'd have an apple.
She had
That's
an
not her
apple and an
style.
orange. Yeah. We had just met. I auditioned for this. It was during the Screen Actors Guild strike. They strike like every 20 years. It was time for it. And I was not in the union. So my union roommates were like, hey, man, there's so much work going on right now and we can't do it. But this particular one, you're actually not really breaking any rules because they're shooting it in Japan. So you won't be really crossing you won't be a scab.
So you went to Japan?
I went to Japan.
You hear this? If you need a spokesperson now, you have an expert.
It's here. I wonder if I can actually. I should just put. Oh yeah, here.
This is not what I expected.
Yeah.
Did you sign on? You're like, oh, this is what we're going to end up in a little
Not what I
room
expected.
watching his Japanese commercial.
Yeah. Here, I'll put this up. I'll put this on the video. For those listening, you're only going to hear music and such, but trust me, it is a full-blown production, and I am dressed as the lead character, speaking in Japanese for Brookbond Tea. Here we go.
Did you just have this queued up?
That's me.
You look like if you're the Beatles.
Yeah.
Wow,
I'm basically
Max.
Paul McCartney.
Basically.
あなたにはブロックボンド必要です。
Yeah.
Oh, the wink?
Yeah, the wink.
Your teammates are very happy. Wow.
That's it, my friends. That changed my life.
That's amazing.
That commercial changed my life because I got paid. I mean, I'll just be honest. I think I got paid like almost $14,000, but I was 21 and I got flown to Japan business class with those other two guys. They don't, I guess, like in the Japanese culture, when they're doing something about inhabiting, like for a joke or for like comedy's sake, they don't like to make fun of the dead. Or so that we didn't have a John Lennon character for this particular thing. So there's only three of us because George Harrison was still alive in 1999 when I filmed this. And so I effectively was Paul and the other guys were George and Ringo. And they flew us out there. We were there for 5 days. We only shot on one of the days. And the other times that we were there, they like just let us tour Japan. And so we went to the recording studio where they filmed that song, or they recorded the song. There was a guy, I mean, he sounded exactly like John Lennon when he was singing. And then went to like the Imperial Castle or Palace and rode bikes. This is back like when Diesel, the jeans company, was a big deal, and like actors like Brad Pitt were on billboards and they wouldn't do print ad for America, but because like this is pre-internet, they're like, yeah, we'll do whatever. So God, I sound so old saying it this way.
I have an idea. Like I'm seeing a vision, and this could happen. You find the guys.
Yeah.
You bring back the band.
Yeah.
You do a special one night only performance in
Yeah,
the restaurant.
okay.
Yeah.
Signings of you do a showing of the commercial. I feel like it's going to be sold out.
あなた
Forget
に
the
は
triad. That's going to be,
必要です。
they'll be flying in from Japan.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just an idea.
That
Just
could
an
be a
idea.
fun time.
He's
And,
like,
and at the time I was a bartender, and we would have in Los Angeles, and these Japanese tourists, which we had many Japanese tourists come into Santa Monica, would come in, and apparently I was told that the commercial was like a huge success and it was really popular. They had plastered. They did a photo shoot with us as well, not just the video, and they plastered our faces all over the Roppongi, which is kind of like a Times Square-ish type spot. And we were in print ads, and apparently like the way I butchered Japanese was like really funny to the Japanese. Like they're like making fun of, white boy over here.
Yeah.
And so it was like a catchphrase for a while. Like it was silly the way I said it. And so these tourists would come in, and when I would see a Japanese tourist, I asked my translator while we were on the trip, like, how could I like say, can I get you something? And she's like, oh, I would tell you, say, biru no nimasu ka? And it just means like, will you have a beer with me? Like, would you like a beer type of thing? And she's like, that's kind of how we say it. And I was like, okay. So I would say that to Japanese tourists, and then it would like click in their brain, and then they're like, biru de Brookbondo. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, and I mean, it was funny. From time to time, people recognized me from this silly commercial.
Let's bring the band back together.
Yeah. So
one night only in Greensboro.
I'm down. The
Special menu. I feel like that we've now created.
Only pineapples.
Yeah.
I am not in part of that menu. This is well, but that is a question, because when you're doing a menu like that, Max obviously has been to Japan. He is our expert. Do you go over there too and find that inspiration and maybe learn kind of that culture?
I'm still waiting to get some time. I want to go to Korea first, just for the fried chicken, the chimek culture.
Really? Okay, that was a hard left, but maybe not.
But Japan is definitely on the bucket list too. It's just a big time commitment. Like if I go to Japan, I'm not going for any less than a week.
But you're going. You know what? It's funny. I just came from a conference where they were like, travel is an investment, and I feel like that would be the best investment. Can we go back to the fried chicken in Korea? Is that a big thing?
Oh yes.
See, I told you I'd ask the stupid questions. Really?
So chimek, it's a culture there. It's fried chicken and beer. You basically on every corner there's a chimek place. So,
not like a KFC.
So better KFC.
Yes, it could still be KFC because Korea
I was
fried
told that
chicken.
KFC is actually like a big deal on like Christmas, right? Isn't that?
Yes.
Is it in Korea or is it in Japan where like they actually specifically eat Kentucky Fried Chicken on Christmas?
Couldn't tell you.
But it's like not a joke.
They're
It's like
all over.
I know that it's big
thing.
in Korea and in Japan.
Yeah.
The Asia, it's KFC is, but they could have their own. Like, why are we not franchising Korean fried chicken?
Well, I mean, it's becoming more popular.
Yeah. Actually, we just had BB's Chicken on earlier. Like,
did they do a KFC?
They do a Kentucky or
they
a
do.
Korean
They run
fried
a
chicken.
show.
Yeah, you just had them on their show.
Yeah, that's so right. Okay, so
Korean
that's
fried
why
chicken.
I think that maybe that's why I just kind of put those two and two together. So is that something that's going to be on the menu at your new restaurant?
At Yokai, we have KFC, Korean fried chicken.
Okay, so I'm sitting here thinking I'm like all clever. I'm not. I'm so behind. I'll walk out, guys. I'll go have some sake.
Well, and not to put you on the spot, you're not a big meat eater in general, right?
I'm not a meat eater at
You
all.
eat fish,
Seafood,
right?
Seafood. But how?
And pineapples.
Well, and how pretentious is it? Mango, isn't that the big? I don't. I am not the fruit symbolism expert here. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, what does it mean if you have a mango in your cart?
Yeah, I feel like that's an entire. I'm telling you, grocery stores. Going back to that culture is fascinating. But no, I don't. But I am still so intrigued. I am, to sound pretentious, I am a pescatarian, but that sounds so pretentious. So you just say vegetarian, but I'm still so intrigued by the menu and the different combinations that it come on. So even though I may not eat the meat dishes, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And then to like see the plate design, all of it, it's fascinating to me. I think it's such an art.
We also still offer a ton of options for vegetarian.
You're not allowed in.
Pescatarian. We actually get that a lot.
No, I saw you had on the menu for Machete the cauliflower. I was like, oh. I need to try that. I'm sure he didn't just bring it in a pouch, but
Yeah, well, famously, 11 Madison Park is
They're vegan now.
They're vegan.
Really?
They're 100% animal free. And this restaurant to many is considered the top restaurant in America.
Yeah.
And they made the conscious decision to just go complete plant-based.
Well, a question as a chef, is that a challenge or is that something that a challenge you want to take on? That's my question. Or is that something you're just like, nah, that's just for show?
For like a place like 11 Madison Park, that's a huge challenge, and they probably pissed a lot of people off by doing that. But for us, we enjoy it because it forces you to be more creative. Vegetables, meats are pretty easy to make them taste good, right? Like A5 beef, it's going to taste good on its own.
Yeah.
Vegetables
Less
can
is
be
more.
a little more, it takes a little more technique, a little more care to really highlight the vegetable that you're cooking.
And that goes back to your early start in the grocery store.
Yeah.
I see where this is going now.
Assistant produce manager of Machete.
Well, is that true?
Assistant to
That's your new card.
Yeah.
But is that something that's true, like with meat? If you see like Wagyu beef, is it? I even say that right?
Wagyu.
Wagyu. See, I order it all the time. Is somebody just going to automatically order it and say it's going to be good? But then if you see green beans, you're like,
Right.
I don't know. Do I get green beans? I don't know why they're different. Say the Wagyu.
Wagyu.
Wagyu. Okay.
Yeah, but I like the way you say green beans. 'Cause
Green
you're like-
beans.
all of a sudden you had a southern accent. Green beans.
Green beans and grits. I don't think that's something.
But wait, are you from Florida originally, or no? You're from.
I grew up in Florida. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's why the pescatarian is. I grew up on the beach, so it's straight up like your Canaveral shrimp. That's where I lived. So
Yeah.
I guess I
You
felt
would be able to
really
show
bad.
your face if you wouldn't have shrimp.
It was my favorite, and
Yeah.
but I did go all over. I travel all over for my job as far as work, and early in my career, had the opportunity to travel. I was on the road pretty much every weekend, and I think that's part of the cool thing. And that's where, again, I'm sorry, it sounds like such a weirdo, but you go to the grocery stores or the restaurants in the different countries, and that's when you learn about the culture. So while the food may not be the fascinating part to me, I feel like that is what ties people together no matter where you are. And that's why I think you guys have such a cool job.
Yeah.
Like, you get to learn so much about people in general. And somebody explained it to me, we all eat. Like, what a great time to just get together, eat, and then you learn so much more about other people. You basically, what I'm saying is both of you have the ability to change the world. And I'm not throwing it out that that's your,
we talk about it all the
your
time.
goal for today, but I am kind of throwing it out. No pressure.
Well, there's something cool about food. I mean, I say it all the time, and it sounds so cliche or so obvious, but we do it a couple times a day. We eat, and we all do it. It's not like, if Matt and I were both beverage guys and like sommeliers, but not everyone drinks, and not everyone drinks wine, and so even though that's such a generic kind of thing, it's still limited to a particular group. But I mean, food can connect to 100% of all living beings.
Well, and that's when in the beginning you were like, you got to remember it's just Greensboro, but that ties it all around. But it's not. It's so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
And it's so much bigger than what you think it is, because you're bringing in all of these other cultures and people that are coming. And that's the coolest. That must be so cool.
Do you ever go to H Mart?
Yes. But there was, when the sriracha shortage, which I hear is coming back. But I love going in there. The smells but it reminds me of being like on the street market in the south of Asia and doing that and seeing that and all the different people.
Are you going to start working at H Mart?
Well,
Is this an Easter egg?
so we have Super G in Greensboro. Which
Yeah.
is,
you really do.
It's like an H Mart. But we do pull a lot of inspiration from there as well, because you can get a firsthand look at ingredients you've never seen before.
Ever.
And then we figure out how to source it. If it's something we want to put on the menu, whether we source it from there or one of their purveyors, we'll bring on some crazy ingredient we find that no one else is using, but we just take a liking to it.
See, I'm telling you, it's not nuts. It sounds nuts when I say it out loud, but it really, it's kind of going in there and doing all that. And you even said when you make it, you called yourself selfish, which I don't think that is. I think being curious is what creates stuff. And then the stuff that you're curious about, other people are also curious about. Mm-hmm. So again, it's all about connection.
Yeah, and I would say to the next point is like, if you're going to be a fine dining chef and you're going to represent this high level of skill in your area, you shouldn't be reacting to the community. You should be defining the thing and trying to let people know, like, this is what's next. This is where, a guy like me, like saying as you, like, you're like, I'm in it. I'm paying attention to what is happening in the season through technology, through trends, or whatever it might be. This is what has gotten me to this is where my interests lie, and I want to give this to you as a community, because it's just like, like a great musician they always say, like, don't write for the community, write for yourself, and write the song write a song that you would want to listen to. So I imagine you're cooking food that you would like to eat.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what do you do? Like, actually, here, selfishly, and I love this, and I hope you have a great hack for this. I'm asking you right off the top, so I don't know. But give me your best late at night, maybe too many cocktails, or somebody smoked something somewhere. What's your best stoner ramen menu?
I don't eat a lot of ramen like that, but I would say I usually go for the perfectly soft-boiled egg.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest part for me.
Like 6 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, I think we do 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, 5.5. That's right. Yeah, 5.5 is perfect soft boil.
And you have to thumbtack the bottom of the egg.
Wait, okay.
Before you do it.
Explain that to somebody who doesn't. What I'm picturing is not what you do for real. It's not like a real thumbtack.
Yeah, you take a thumbtack.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm. It's the perfect length and like.
Stop. Is he?
He's being serious. It's what to give.
It's the best way to boil an egg.
Do you have a color choice of your thumbtacks?
It's an upside down thumbtack, but no. But you put the thumbtack on a raw egg. You're saying, right?
Yeah.
You put the thumbtack in.
Puncture the bottom.
Put the hole.
You make a hole. Ultimately, and then you drop it in the water, lightly.
Do you
softly.
leave
Lightly.
the thumbtack in?
No.
Oh.
You're just creating a hole so the water can get in.
Okay,
There's a membrane on the eggshell. And, when like hard-boiled eggs are really
Right.
hard to peel.
Right.
Well, that doesn't work well with a soft-boiled egg because it just falls apart.
Look at what I'm learning today.
So you've got to make that shell really easy to come off.
Wow. Okay, that's actually a tip everybody could use at home.
Yeah.
Wait, are you poking the hole all the way through, or are you just trying to do
Well, a
just
thumbtack
inside of the
It's like
shell?
a perfect length. So you just punch it with the thumbtack.
all the way through?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's like a half an inch or whatever. But you're just really breaking through that membrane that's on the inside of the eggshell.
Did you expect to come in today and talk?
No.
Also, all I could think about, and then you led into it so well, Max, is he's like, okay, this does this. I was like, he's going to ask you to join his band. And then he's like, it's like a musician. And I was like, oh, it's definitely coming. So you just wait. If it's not here, it's going to be an after email. He's like, so I was thinking about creating a band.
Yeah. Do you play guitar or something?
No.
No?
I played a little bit of guitar in high school, but I just,
Spend all your time around vegetables.
I guess vegetables and, getting drunk and, yeah.
I feel like your utensils are instruments, right?
Yeah.
Like when
in a way.
you make music when
Absolutely.
you're sharpening knives.
When
I
you
mean,
have a
this could be
band, your band is the Machete. Like that's your
Yeah,
band,
that's true.
right?
Yeah.
And you've got your crew in the kitchen. That's your team. And
and Max is joining in.
no. I just want to be a fan.
He showed you his demo reel.
Yeah, exactly. Look,
Where do we
could
go
do this.
from here?
Yeah, I always love my daughter and I. Because we love cooking, and she showed me on like a hack for ramen. Though was like grabbing a couple scoops of peanut butter, and so you take the noodles out of the broth, and you put just like a couple ounces of broth into a new bowl. But then you put like 2 scoops of peanut butter in there.
Chunky or smooth?
I would do the chunky, just because, like, I mean, a lot of Asian food has peanut sauce in it, so that's effectively what you're doing.
Okay,
and
I
then,
see that now.
And then, like, you could use like a gochujang, or like you could use some sort of, or like an oyster sauce or something like that. Squirt that in there, squirt this in there. Maybe you throw a little ginger in there, and then just like whip it up. Throw that soft boiled egg on top of there, and then we always have. We, not you, Amber, always have some sort of meat that we've cooked from the night before. So whatever that is, just warm it up and throw it on top.
It's such a great thing, though, because you can add literally anything out of your refrigerator.
Yeah.
And it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know. I trust you both. I also think maybe you need to hire Max's daughter for the kitchen.
Hey.
Because she sounds like a budding
She doesn't
creative
mess
chef.
around. Like, Alexandra is good at, like, everything she tries. It's almost like obnoxious. You're like, just be bad at something every now and then, but she's not. She's good at everything.
Failure's how you learn.
No, she's like she's a better piano player than I am. She can definitely sing better than I can, and she's 14. I'm like, all right, good job.
Put her
Nice
in the
job.
grocery store.
Yeah.
Time to get a job.
Well, Chef, thank you so much. I appreciate you
Absolutely.
coming in all the way out from Greensboro. Your drive home, hopefully it's just nice and chill and
Do you
calm.
have a snack? Like, do you have a token car snack food for like long drives?
Ooh. I don't think so. Probably energy drink and something very quick, I guess.
Okay.
I don't really have like a huge preference. So.
You're like, I prefer it to be brought out to me in a buffet.
Yeah, he's like, I do Wagyu beef.
we do, chefs do get that a lot from people that aren't in the industry, where it's like, oh, you cook this fancy food. Oh, you must eat so well, at home or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, no, not really.
I like
Not
animal
really.
crackers.
My fiance does pretty much all of the cooking at home.
Really? You bait switched her, huh?
I mean, she loves it, and she makes a really good Thai green curry. She does a really good clam linguine.
Okay, I will say though, that's the highest praise for her. That has to feel so good. I've dated
Her
somebody and they're
meatloaf.
like, she's awful in the kitchen. So that right there,
She loves cooking.
love hearing that from you.
Yeah, that's cool. And
So cool.
Yeah.
Also, kudos to her for not being intimidated to want to get in the
Yes.
kitchen when she knows that you're the one she's serving.
Yeah.
that
She
is
knows me well
intimidating.
enough at this point too. Like, my favorite thing is home cooked comfort foods. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not coming home and craving Wagyu beef and caviar.
Funyuns, you told us. It's on your
Hey,
menu.
yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Well, for those that are in the Greensboro area, or if you're looking to just do a weekend getaway or so, that would be really fun. You got to get out to Machete. You got to get out to Yokai. I was even just looking at your beverage menu on Yokai. I'm not going to get deep into it, but there's so many fun things there. It's fun. That's what it is.
Slushies.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
You're really
Okay.
doing it up.
Like
so
a sake slushy?
yeah,
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, I need to get out there now.
yeah. Let's road trip it.
Let's do it.
I got a bag of brittle over here.
I thought that was dog food.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, a dog would eat it, but I'll eat it too. So get yourself out to Machete. Go to Yokai. As Matt would say, you'll eat and drink merrily. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. By rating us online, you're helping others to discover our show. Follow us on all platforms at NCFB Pod.